welcome. We are just about to start the series Ask the Expert with my guest John Harvey from the Samphire Club. Welcome, John, to the show, and welcome to the audience. This is the opportunity for them to go live with John Harvey to ask any questions about networking.
For instance, we just tend to get to know each other.
So you're saying that you sort of got into networking because it's part of your job. So
Yep.
It wasn't something that, it sounds as if you learned through what? Through mistakes, through trial and error, through not speaking to anybody sometimes. What happened?
The first ever big Cornwall Chamber of Commerce breakfast I went to reminded me of the first day of the boarding school. Everybody ran and sat next to people they knew, and I sat between two people who decided to talk to the people on either side of them. So I just sat there checking my phone, thinking, this is horrible. I hated it. But I stuck with it. Again, I've been lucky. I've sort of been adopted by various people who've taken me under their wing and introduced me to, these are the events you should be going to in Plymouth, or these are the people you need to meet. So nowadays I can signpost people to, depending on what they're looking to get out of it, it's right, if that's what you want, then these are the events you need to go to. A lot of the best networking will be private. It will never be advertised, or it'll be, you have to be on the mailing list, or you need an invite. Okay. So these days I can unlock those things for people and I can go with them. So like a networking buddy. Yeah,
but yeah, sort of a guru rather than an organizer of events. Not that,
it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Great question though. Got some good. So Paul, do you want to unmute yourself? Well done.
Oh yes, all done. Hi John. I do some mentoring at X University, and I see Linus is on the call today. A lot of the students are sort of starting out or preparing for their first career. What would be your top tip if you've never been to a networking event before?
Ooh. Go with someone who has. I have done talks on networking into sixth forms, colleges, business study, university students, because I'll always say to them, a good network is a skill and it will set you up for life. But read books or go with somebody, ask somebody to take you, or buddy up with someone else who's equally has never been before, and it's much easier when there's two of you than there is one.
And buy your book. Yeah.
Oh yes, or refer to my book.
Okay, any other questions from you guys in the room? Lucy and Tim. Should we go? I'll go with Lucy and then Tim. So Lucy.
Okay, I've put it in the chat, but John, come on now. Tell us what is it that makes your way of networking, your Samphire group club, all that, why is it so different from other groups?
In a nutshell, one golden thing I would say, no selling. So no selling at all. No one is allowed to sell. If they start trying to sell, I will eject them from the club. And members, it's an invite only. So you cannot, I was explaining how it works. And I said, as per the All Blacks or the Red Arrows, I have a no dickhead policy, and it's me who decides. And she said, you can't use that word. It's really bad. And I went, but it's valid because they will tell you that. So there is everybody, I think all the members buy into the ethos, and there are members on this call. It's, they all get it and they all look to, and something I also do if somebody comes to one of my lunches as a guest, and I always encourage people, if they're interested, come as a guest first. I will always say, we have guests amongst us. They've never been. Look after them, take them under your wing and show them how we do things. And most people get that. And the feedback's always lovely.
Thank you for the question. Thank you, John. Okay, Tim.
So John, you've also got thousands of contacts. How often do you touch base with everyone, and how do you do it? And how do you know who to focus on?
Oh, good question. Members, my big corporate members have to be talked to. So with them, I will have a scheduled meeting once a quarter probably, and we diarise that. Other times people will show up events. If I notice people haven't been to anything, I will reach out and find them. Various ways. And it's something in the current climate where I've got time on my hands and I'm doing this on a daily basis, is taking 5 people and I'm leaving a voicemail WhatsApp for them. So I'm not talking to them. It's literally a very quick, Lord Samphire here, just checking in. Hope you're all right. Haven't heard from you. Do get in touch if you want to chat. Takes less than 10 seconds. It's far off a few of it. It's what I call pinging. So you just ping to people, but equally you should know, because you should have asked them, which platform people like to use. A question for all of you, for your clients, how do you like being contacted? Because we're all different. And if I need to get a hold of senior people, so say partners, MDs, directors, if you want to get a hold of them in a hurry, text. They all tell me, text. You have my number, use it, because I will always see a text and I don't look at my emails that often. But text with context, it's like, need to talk to you, not urgent, need to talk to you, it's quite urgent. Like that.
So that's for the Samphire Club. What about your other contacts who aren't members? So you must have a much wider network than your
I do. A lot of them are on my mailing list. So I put out a newsletter once a week on a Sunday, and that goes out to about, I think it's about 8,000 people now, which I've built up over the years. Right. And that's what I call my community. That's my tribe. They don't all follow me all the time, but they've all opted into that mailing list. It's written professionally. A lot of thought and care goes into that, and people like it. But other times people just randomly come into my mind and I just think, oh, that's a sign. I'll just ring them. The trouble is, if you ring people these days, none of our phones ever ring very often, and they think someone's died or something. It's great, just ring someone. Or if someone rings you and you want to amuse them or scare them, just answer your phone as follows. Just pick it up and go, speak. It's great fun.
Thanks, John. That's a great following, and a great question from Tim. We've just quickly had a message just come through for Facebook, and then we'll be straight over to Anna. The question on Facebook is from Rachel, John, and it says, how many drinks is the right amount for a networking event?
Oh, good question. Really good question. Depends on, okay, you don't want to be, am I allowed to say pissed? You don't want to be pissed as a networking event. Certainly, you just don't. I sort of say one's fine, to make you feel slightly relaxed. It depends on the event. Award ceremonies are slightly different because most people are there to drink. Sometimes I will go to an award ceremony and not drink alcohol at all, actually, and watch the world disintegrate in front of me. But unless you know the people there really, really well, I would say I sound like a killjoy, and it sounds odd coming out of my mouth. It's like a no-no, I would say.
Good response. Yeah, okay. So over to Anna.
Thank you. So John, lots of people ask you for your top tips, but what do you think is the biggest mistake people make when they're networking?
They try to sell. They pitch. They think networking. It's the most common misconception I come across. People network to sell. They network to get business, and that's not why you network. You network to build relationships from which business may ensue. But that's the most common, I think. Or they interrupt when you're talking to someone.
Yeah.
But that's the biggest no-no for me.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the room got any questions for John? If anyone's out on Facebook, there are a few people watching. If you've got any questions that you would love to know the answer to around networking, John also has a lot of knowledge around business development as well, but feel free to pop the question onto the comments on live, or if you're in the room right now, think of the question, and John is ready. John, I have a question for you. What are the skills, qualities and behaviours of the best networker you've ever met?
Oh, I'm not going to single out one person I've met because I know some great networkers. What they all have in common is they are generous with their time and their knowledge. They're insatiably curious about people. They just instinctively look for that win-win. It's not, I'm going to win, you're going to lose. How can we both win? They're brave. Great networkers brave, because to go up to a stranger in a room and say, hi, I'm John, or hi, I'm Lorraine, it takes bravery, because it's not a natural thing to do. They follow up. I'm amazed how many people spend a lot of money to go to an event and then never follow up ever, or they follow up too late. So, you know, if I meet someone at an event and get the card, etc., within 24 hours, they will hear from me. It doesn't have to be an epistle, but within 24 hours. Other attributes of great networkers, they tend to be fun. They tend to be, but they're people. But I was asked this the other day on another call, I think Robert asked it, you know, is it nature or nurture? And you can learn to network, you can learn it. And you can operate really effectively, but it's a bit like doctors and bedside manner. Oh, that's a robin in the background here.
I was going to say, the bird's obviously got a lot to say.
Yeah, it's but I think really, I just think there are some people who make great teachers or who make great doctors, and I think it's the same with networking. It's just a something.
Okay.
That help?
Yeah, no, fantastic. I think you know, I've seen some really successful people network, and I've also seen the shocking ones where you talk about, you know, where they literally just go in for the money, the sell. You know, you need me. So
are we going to name and shame?
No.
Okay.
So I know when we were having a conversation the other day, you were talking a little bit about at your networking events, you don't tend to do like a pitch. Is that the case? Because a lot of networking's...
Yes. If it's, so let's say my lunches, I do big month, I used to do in the old days, big monthly lunch at the Hotel de Van Exeter. That would 20-30 people. It's a buffet. There's welcome drinks, and people go and help themselves. Now at that, nobody has to do the 60-second elevator, blah, blah, blah. It just doesn't happen. I will make sure that people are introduced to people. If it's a smaller lunch where we are all around one table, so that's probably up to 20, what I do is I just say, we are going around the table, just introduce yourself. If anybody starts pitching, I'm going to shut you up now. And I let them start introducing themselves, but I always interrupt, because I will say things like, okay, what Lorraine's not telling you is, because she's very modest, is she's actually really damn good, and she did this. And I will then just interject things like that. But no, I really don't like I know it exists, elevator pitch, but that's not to decry it. You need, when someone says to you, and it will happen in a social situation, what do? You need to be able to answer that question.
How do you feel when people respond with just their job title?
I give them hell. When I'm told I'm a solicitor, I'm going, oh, for God's sake, seriously? What kind of solicitor? That's so boring. What type of solicitor? They go, I'm a property solicitor. So what's it you do? You help people move into their dream house, etc. You are making people happy, hopefully, or sorting problems. You know, professional service people are dreadful. Apologies to any professional service people on the call. Richard's killing himself.
So Robert's got a question. Robert, if you unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm professional service. John, thank you very much. No, my question is...
You're an exception, and you know that. You are a very good one.
A new person, a young person new to networking, what's the top bit of advice for when they go into a room and they have to speak to somebody they don't know? What should they say? Because we've all been there and we've all seen it, where you just don't know what to say, and you don't know that person you're going to speak to.
Okay, if you rewind just a fraction, a question I get asked a lot is, how do you start a conversation with a stranger? You walk up to them and you stick your hand out, you make eye contact and you smile and you say, hi, I'm John. Automatically you would go, oh, I'm Robert. You would do that. No one ever has turned around their back on me. It just wouldn't happen. I want to do it one day to someone because I think it'd be really mean, but it doesn't happen. But the thing you don't do is lead off, or early on is what do you do? It's just lame. Opening lines, and there are loads, but things like, is this your first time at this event? How did you get here? If there's a speaker, you know, are you looking forward to hearing the speaker, etc., etc., or did you come on your own? Or what I tend to do now is, if I see people on their own, who are obviously on their own, I think you should go and rescue them and just go, you know, you're on your own. Is this your first time? And if they say yes, you go, you'd be nervous, I would imagine, because I remember my first time, it was horrendous, awful. Probably something like that. But yeah, it gets easier with practice. But what you mustn't do is just start rattling off a series of questions at them, a bit like an interview, because you will know when someone gets onto, when they start talking about something that obviously interests them, because they will, a bit like Lucy this morning, they will light up like a Christmas tree, and you just lob the odd question in there and let them go.
I like the saying, be interested to be interesting. Taking an interest, isn't it?
Yes, it's being genuine, and that's why I said great networkers are genuinely curious about people. And again, if you think at an event, I would always say you spend 80% of your time at that event with the people you actually already know, and 20% looking for the new ones. And every time you come away from a conversation with someone, so let's say someone like Robert, who I've known for years, I come away hopefully having learnt something else. I now know what his youngest daughter's called. That doesn't sound appropriate, does it? But every time, and if I'm with a company, I will say to them, take your top 3 clients. Okay, get them in your head. I feel like Darren Brown. Have you got them? Okay, you should be able to tell me who they bank with, their lawyers, their accountants, their printers. Should be able to name the board of directors. If you can't, you don't begin to know your clients properly, and that's harsh. But
that's good advice, John. Really good advice. Paul.
We've spent the last 8 weeks or so staring at each other on a screen and looking at our shoulders and heads. What's your view on the future of face-to-face networking?
Oh, what? Will it come back? Yes, it will, because people will be desperate for some face-to-face, some human interaction, some human contact. I read somewhere the other day, somebody was, something as simple as feeling someone else's skin, apart from your partner, obviously, or your wife. But yes, it will come back. I think this, though, Zoom will be incorporated. It will certainly be part of the Samphire Club's future, whereas I never did it before. And I was thinking about that today, actually. I thought I might just start introducing 3 times a week a Samphire, like the empowerment call in the morning, a Samphire drop-in. You know, it's an easy way of getting hold of an awful lot of people without anybody having to travel.
Great idea.
But I don't think it will ever replace face-to-face, in my book. You can't eat canapes. You know, you can't swap canapes.
John, with obviously being in lockdown, what's kind of been your, I suppose, lessons learned, anything that you could share about how you've adapted from being a face-to-face networking organisation to taking it online?
My initial, when lockdown started, those first couple of days, it was shock. Because as you know, as most of you know, I do events 2-3 times a week. What I didn't do was take everything online straight away, because I figured that's a lot of people were going to do that, and they did. So straight away, by not, it's a point of differentiation. But equally, it's a really crowded space. I know some of you, Lucy said earlier, she's been on 4 Zoom calls today. You could spend your whole time on stuff like this. But what it has done, interestingly, is enabled me to spend more time talking to members one-on-one in Zoom calls or WhatsApp calls or just on the phone, which is really, really nice. It's allowed me to get on with writing. But I think equally, I think a lot of people I sense are worried, or they're falling into, I've got to be at work. I may be at home, but I'm at work. So I'm going to sit from 9 till 5 in your office, because a lot of you have offices, and it's like, mix it up. Make sure you do something different. Podcasts, read books, you know, business books, whatever.
Yeah, Definitely. So just for those that there's a few people that have just joined onto Facebook Live, so I'm just kind of saying I'm with John Harvey. John Harvey is one of the UK's leading experts in business networking. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to pop the questions in the comments and we'll come back to them at some point. Anybody else in the room got any questions or anything they want to know about business, about networking, about John's life before Cornwall?
Food and drink, hospitality.
Yeah. Ben's got a question.
Hi, John.
Hi, Ben.
So in terms of number of people in a network, do you think there's an optimal number, or is just the more the better? And how do you remember all their details? Is it all written down?
Okay, what, within my network or anybody's network?
I guess within yours, because yours is probably bigger than most.
Okay, in terms of the club, I get asked quite often, is there a target number of members? And my answer is no. If anybody has got talent and they've got value to add to the tribe, and they're nice, they're welcome. In terms of how do I remember, I have a CRM system. This is actually equally. Somebody once said to me, John, I would love to look in your phone, and I had no idea why. I was going, sorry, why? And they went, how many contacts have you got in your phone? I went, I have no idea. I've never looked. Why? Because I'm not very techy. And so they they literally nicked my phone off me. And they went, John, you've got about 6,000 people in your phone. Did you know that? I went, nope. And they went, you've got notes in a lot, and that's not very GDPR. I went, oh, stop, shush. So, but yeah, a CRM. You need a CRM. So, for instance, if you're going to an event, this is another networking tip, and you can get the delegate list up front, always get it. Okay, always get it if you can. Most people will give it to you. So if I'm going to an event and I've got a delegate list, I can spend a full day just looking at that list, because what I want to know is who's there. I start with who don't I know that I think would be really cool to meet. So like my targets, I want to meet them. It might be the speaker. More importantly, who's there that I do know from my network. So let's say I know Richard Carpenter is going to be at that event. Before that event, I will check my notes as to when did I last see Richard? What did we talk about? Do I owe him money? Do I need to duck and dive? Or does he owe me money? Or did we have an issue? Or actually, no, Richard, I know he was on holiday last month. I haven't seen him since he was on holiday. And when I see him, it won't be, how was your holiday? It'll be like, Richard, how was Crete? And then people go, John, how do you even know that? And I go, because I cheat. I've got notes. I'm very upfront about it. But it's called prep and research. It's another whole chapter in the book, prep and research.
And doing the detail. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question, Ben.
Yes,
anyone else got any questions? John, I'll come back to you in Paul just a second, but interestingly, when I started networking, which wasn't that long ago, because my business literally started last year, I was told that you can't network just for 3 months. You've got to network continuously. So what's your view on how long do you network for?
Oh, what for what? Networking is an ongoing thing. So if you said to me, networking is a way of life, I'm either asleep or I'm awake. And if I'm awake, I'm networking. I'm always networking. So, I will always have a business card on me, even at the weekend. It should be second nature and ingrained, because from a business point of view, business development, it's the most effective most cost effective and most effective way of doing business development. Career enhancement, same thing. People who are networked well get headhunted much more than people who aren't. And equally, in my case, it will just change your life beyond recognition. Networking, a good network is, can I use an analogy? An analogy I use is your network, treat it like your allotment, okay? It needs tending daily. Just prune it, weed it, whatever, water it, but just look after it and it will look after you.
Great response, thank you.
But it is a long-term, networking is a very long-term thing. So if you're doing it for business development, I would say if you meet someone at an event, a networking event, and you want to work with them, 18 months is not uncommon. That would be about right, because you start with a coffee and then you build it.
Paul, did you have a question?
Yeah, thanks, Lorraine. John, if we think back to January of this year, before the world changed, you look at your diary and there's loads and loads of different networking events you could attend. They're everywhere. How do you decide which ones to go to?
Okay, so from a business development strategy, you work it backwards. Excuse me, I'm going to burp. Probably, I'll try not to. Gone. Work it backwards. Who do you want to work with? So that may be a sector. That may be, maybe I want to work with accountants like an Ashley. It may be I want to work in the food and drink sector. Let's take food and drink. I want to work with that sector. They have their own networking events specific to them. So you go to their events, you become a familiar face in their world, you immerse yourself in their world. They may not know who you are, but you will become a familiar face. I do a lot with hospitality, and I attend the tourism awards at Southwest, have done for a number of years. I was introduced to a lady, and it was about 3 o'clock in the morning in the bar after the awards, and she said, John, I don't know you, but I do know your face, and I also know you are, to me, you're the man in a sea of black tie that never does his bow tie up. And I went, I know, I don't. It's a personal thing. I said, but you've noticed, haven't you? And she went, makes you stand out. So, but a lot of people network randomly or try and cover everything, which is crazy. It's a waste of time and money. Just go to the right, and that's something else I help spend time with members, helping them go. I will show you the right events to go to. If necessary, I will go with you and take you. But unless it's strategic, it's pointless, in my humble view.
Thank you for that response, John. Lucy, you have a question?
Yeah, John, I've heard you tell us some cracking tips about networking. You did a lovely one about mugs. And mugs.
Oh, mugs.
A cup of tea the other day, and I was going, would you? I don't know if you would share that with everyone, but also, do you have any tips about how, when you're loud like now online, how does one stand out when one is in a tiny box from the chest upwards, indeed, and you know what? What in your
well, you're doing it now because you're animated and you're smiley, so that will make, and your tone of voice, etc. You know, how do you stand out?
How do you stand out? I think it's tricky, isn't it?
It's very tricky on a Zoom. Somebody who stands out in normal face-to-face networking is a guy called Daryl Fools, who you might know. He always has like Hawaiian shirts. It's his personal brand. You always know if he's in the room, in the same way that I will never do my bow tie up. The mug thing, for those of you who don't know, okay, so when you go to events, a lot of the time they're at hotels or country clubs or things like that, and you always get given a cup and saucer. And if there's something to eat as well, trying to juggle a cup and saucer, something to eat, and then you're trying to shake hands and exchange business cards, it's really difficult. Also, it goes cold very quickly, and you never get enough. It's pointless. So years ago, I just took a mug from home. That's how it started. I took a mug from home because if I show you this, it's really handy. If you're nervous as well, you can cradle a mug. And then somebody said, John, you should use one of our mugs, branded. So I was given a mug by, I think it was an insurance company. So I said, fair enough, I will use your mug. And then other people said, John, will you use our mug? So then I will just have, so I now have a whole collection of branded mugs, but equally I will put it out on my social platforms. So today's mug is my good pals at Vickery Holman for property. These are the guys, they're the go-to guys. So there's a little bit of that as well. But equally, people will come up to you who don't know you because you stand out like a sore thumb, what's with the mug? And it's like, well, I don't like cups and saucers. And actually, you think about it, it's really practical. And it's very, like a lot of ideas, very, very simple.
I think sometimes the simple tips are the ones that really help. And interestingly, on Facebook, I think the question that's come up is very similar to how you've just answered another question, but it says, what are your views about how many networking groups you should be part of?
Oh, if they're relevant, I don't think that's, you'll have time constraints and budget constraints probably, but they have to be relevant. So if they're relevant, but you don't have to go all the time, but you do have to be consistent. That sounds so contradictory, doesn't it? You need to keep showing up, but there are people I know who just show up at absolutely everything, and you think, and it does then beg the question, when you're doing any work, better to do few but do them really well than do a lot and do them badly, I think. Can I share a tip actually that Richard Carpenter gave me? Okay, Richard and I both attend the Mitchell Moore's breakfast when it, you know, it's not going at the moment. And we were yakking. I bumped into him because I was leaving, and because he was lurking around where you put the badges back, the desk, yeah. And we got chatting, and he went, John, I always stand by the desk here because everybody has to walk past me when they leave. Think about it. It's so annoyingly simple. But I'm name checking because that is something Richard taught me. It's very clever.
Yeah. Another question. I don't know how you're going to answer this one, John, but it's quite a good one. How do you choose who to network with?
In what way? Whose events to go to, or?
So when you get to the networking event.
Oh, who to talk to?
Yeah.
Ooh, all right, that's a whole nother subject about how to work a room, probably. You know, if I'm there, I will try and cover as many people as possible. So the danger is you meet someone and they're fabulous and you then just get engrossed talking to them, and you can't let yourself do that. And you have to be nice about it. So it's, Lorraine, it's been great meeting you. I could sit here and talk to you all day. I would love to, but now is not the time. We're not here for that. So let's arrange a coffee at a later time and have a proper catch up. But we need to work this room together. Now, is there, I will normally say at that stage, is there anybody here that I can introduce you to and try and take you and not offload you, but, you know, rather than you just don't leave people hanging because it's just rude. But again, how many conversations should you have? If you go to an event and walk away having had one or two really good conversations, that's good. You know, you're not going to cover everybody. You cannot. But if you can't, and if you know a lot of people, I will probably know quite a lot of people at an event. I refer to it as pinging again. I'll just wave at them across the room and do that stupid, you know, call you, and all that, or get your people, talk to my people. We'll set something up and all that crap, which is just fun. But it's really difficult. But equally, something that came up the other day about goal setting. Should you set a goal before you go to an event? Yes, you should. Otherwise, how do you measure it? Specific, this is a live story. This is a true story. Many years ago in Cornwall, I went to a tourist event, and I knew quite a lot of people there. It was at Watergate. It was really nice, and a lot of people going, John, why are you here? Is this such a jolly, you know, day by the sea? And I went, no, I'm here to specifically to meet the speaker. It's the only person I wanted. That's the only reason I went. I paid 100 quid, I think it was, of my money, but I wanted to meet the speaker. And the speaker was the marketing director of GWR in those days. And I wanted to talk to GWR about some stuff about doing networking on the sleeper service, etc. And it took me till the afternoon coffee break to finally get an opportunity. But I was not leaving that event until and she's still in my network. She's one of my contacts, you know. So that's very specific.
Yeah. Okay, so anyone still watching on Facebook, if you've got any questions, I can see you there watching, but you're staying very quiet. So any questions that you may have for John? Anyone else in the room got any questions or insights that they would like from John? This is your opportunity. I have other questions up my sleeve, but it's always great to get your guys, the guys in the room or guys on Facebook. Michael.
Carpenter wants to ask something.
Okay, so we'll go to Michael and then Richard.
Okay. I'll be quick. It's just that I keep thinking about the students we work with, and I encourage them all to go out there and do networking events, attend them, get to know the market they're interested in for their future career and so on. But they're all hopeless at it. Like, even, you know, with all the good advice, they run in, either they stand in their corner and chat to themselves, or they sort of like cling on to somebody who's been really friendly and kind, like you would be, John, right? And ask them, is it your first time? And then they're not going to leave you. So I keep thinking, I don't know what the question is, and I don't know what the answer is either, but sort of like there is definitely an issue, like in terms of like, they they need to do it. We all needed to learn it one way or another. How can we help them to be?
It's a life skill, and they do need to learn it. And I love getting asked to go in and talk to students or school kids, because they do need to learn it. And actually, from a practical point of view, we used to do this down in Falmouth with some of the students, is just hold a drinks event in the evening at a hotel, get them to come along and sort of show them how to do it. You know, right. But you're right, they do all want to stick together. But then I know Robert Camp will agree with this. You go to a Chamber of Commerce event, all the lawyers and accountants stand together in the corner talking shop, and then they're the guys who say to me, I don't get anything out of networking. You know, it's easy to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, we need to help the kids. Definitely. That sounds patronizing. It's not meant to be. You genuinely, you need to. So if you and I can talk about doing some events with you, I'd love to.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea.
Great question. Okay, Richard.
Yeah, just a frivolous question, John. Where did the name Samphire Club come from?
Okay, I used to have a blog called Canapes and Conversations, Diary of a Cornish Networker. And when I started the club, I needed a website. So I was talking to one of my marketing contacts, and I said, sorry, I've got a TV on behind me now. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I said to the, that's quite funny actually. I said to her, I said, you do all that branding shit, don't you? And she goes, John, I do, and we don't call it shit. So she then phoned me up and said, I'm emailing you a list of words. Just look at it quickly. Do not study it. Anything stands out. So I just went straight back and went, Samphire. I know what it is. I eat it with fish, but I don't know, it just, and she went, very interesting, because that's our choice, our end, and we've already mocked up a logo. So if you let us go with it, we will let you have Canapes and Conversations as a tagline. So it wasn't my idea. Came like that. Like most things, it came from the people around me.
Cool. I think sometimes business names do just pop, don't they? I think you can spend hours with a piece of paper and have loads of ideas, but actually you might just go for a walk and then suddenly it just happens.
Do you know, on that note, true story, okay, so there is a very famous American chef called Thomas Keller, and he had a restaurant, very famous restaurant in Napa Valley called the French Laundry. You couldn't get in for, weeks, months, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, they decided to open up in New York, and they were trying to find a name. And this is a true story. And it came out in conversations like, well, what we're looking for, it can't be like the French Laundry per se. So they called it Per Se. That's where the name came from. True story.
Oh. We have a question on Facebook. We'll come back to that one. John.
John, very interesting, and obviously you've got a lot of experience. I mean, I bump into a few of the people here, mainly Richard Carpenter, I would think, at the events that we go to. But some of the events have speakers, and some have more than one speaker, and some sort of don't really have any speakers. What's your view on the value of having a speaker, and what proportion of the time should the speech take up?
Good question. For me, my events, if I'm having a speaker, it's billed as an event with a speaker. So I call it a breakfast briefing. So everybody knows there's going to be a speaker, but only one. Or if it's a conference, where you have a number of speakers, like Drew's Lockdown Festival, fine. Where Chamber of Commerce's fall down, and I used to be heavily involved with Cornwall, so I know it from the inside out, is they feel obliged to give their members a moment in the spotlight to showcase, but equally, which is fine, but when you have 3 or 4 in a row consecutively, it's dreadful. I remember an occasion I was taken as a guest to the Exeter Chamber of Commerce lunch. Really fun table, we're having a great time, all talking, and then they hit us with speakers, and I've still got it on my phone somewhere because I use it in workshops occasionally. I took a picture of our table. Every single person on our table was checking their emails. Nobody was listening because nobody wants to. It's a tricky one.
And can I follow up? I mean, what about these groups where they network before the speech, or rather than afterwards, or both? Or so? There was a group I used to go to in Honiton, and I think it's transmogrified now into the Southwest Business Connections, but it used to be the East Devon Business Club, and it was great. It was just lunch, but then they had like a 10 or 15-minute talk afterwards, which was great. I did a couple there.
Yeah, no, that's fine. As long as you tell everybody, as long as everybody knows what it's going to happen, it's fine. Because if you don't want to listen to the speaker, you can leave.
Yeah.
But you have to give people the opportunity to talk to each other around it.
Cool.
So I'm not anti per se. Oh, there you go. So I'm not anti in total. I just think you have to frame it carefully.
Yeah. Thanks.
Good response. Okay, we've got a question from Facebook from Rachel. It says, how many conversations does it take to build a solid business relationship?
Ooh, good question. There's no definitive number. It varies, and that's not a cop-out. But the process would be, I meet you at an event, I follow up, and if I want to develop it, I suggest we meet for coffee. Always coffee is a starter, because it's never more, that's probably 50 minutes max, and it's not too threatening. If you then want to take it further, lunch maybe, or a working breakfast. But from the moment they might work with you, I'm saying 18 months, you develop it, you then bump into them at events, but you then start building that relationship. So again, if you meet someone at an event and you can listen properly and they talk about something or other, so something I like to do occasionally is just send them an article or a book going, you'd like this book, and I'll send it to them. I'll just send them the book, get it off Amazon, it just shows that you have listened, etc. But you're not going to want to do that with everybody. You filter out. So there are some people you meet, you just think, and it's not nasty, it's not good or bad, it's just chemistry. It comes back to that, all salespeople will go people by people, which is true, but it's people by people they like. Because if I don't like you, I don't care how good you are, I'm not working with you. And what I see that so many people do wrong is they will just go, I'm going to close that person. That's like, they're never going to work with you. I can tell you that. They are not going to work. They don't like you. Get over it. It's very simple.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think when people realize that not everyone is going to like you, life gets easier.
Oh, much. And you can't take it personally. It's just chemistry.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I'm kind of mindful of time. We've got about 5 minutes remaining. John,
Okay.
You've shared a mass amount of tips. I think people will be really looking forward to seeing your book out on the shelves.
March. We're aiming for March.
Okay. How do people get in touch with you?
I am on every platform imaginable. So LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram are the main ones. I have the website, the Samphire Club website has a contact form. I'm very easy to find.
Very easy to find. Amina, did you have any questions for John, considering you've known him the longest?
Where is she?
Let me unmute you. Hang on.
No.
Hang on, you're on mute. Okay, you're free now.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I don't have any questions. I wouldn't know where to start anyway.
Oh, bless you.
Too much.
Any stories to share? No, I'm only joking.
What, about his first wife?
No.
One thing I will share is I have never beaten this lady at backgammon, and I have tried a lot, and it's very annoying. Kara, you've got a question.
Oh, hang on, Kara. Okay.
It's not really a question. You just mentioned a funny story. One of the first networking events I went to and met John, he was sat in the back of the networking event. I thought enjoying it like everybody else. I then nipped out to the bathroom and he walked past me in a toweling robe heading for a swim.
Where was that?
I couldn't possibly say, but he said he'd met the people he needed to meet and the pool was looking lovely.
Was this in Exeter?
No, this was, I think the St Michael's Hotel rings a bell. A long time ago.
I can, hand on heart, I don't recall, but it does sound like something I might have done, yes.
But I can remember thinking I like him.
For those of you who don't know Kara, she's a caterer in Cornwall, and she makes the best, I mean, the best cocktail pasties ever. I mean, amongst other things. So we did a little event on the Helford River, which is her part of the world. There's a little boat, isn't there, that will go up and down the river. So we took about, I don't know, 7 people. So it was a curated event. It wasn't on the website. We just got 7 people together that I felt should all meet each other. And we just took the boat up and down the river for an hour or 2. And we got Kara to drop pasties down into us. And it was delightful, lovely.
I think when you talk about, obviously talking about Kara and her business as well, I think that is a great thing to do when you're networking, is actually to refer or recommend other people that you've worked with or use their services, because it just shows, doesn't it, that it can work. And you know, I know that I've connected my business with a lot of people through networking that have done stuff for me, and so I've referred them if they've been good.
Something you should, and something I will do on a daily basis, is I will spend time on LinkedIn, as we all do, but I will look for posts from members, any success stories. If a member's posting, I will always like it. I will try and comment, and if I can, I will share it. And it can be something just like, and I might tart it a little bit and just go, Samphire member? Of course they are, etc. So I get something out of it as well. But the more you can it's all about what you can do for other people. That's all it is.
Yeah, I'm just going to say goodbye to the guys on Facebook, because we're approaching the hour now. So thank you for watching today. Thank you for watching today, and be back next week. We have Lucy Matthews on talking about PR.
Oh, fantastic.